Welcome to the Sun, Season 5, Episode 34. We will watch Street Race.
Street Outlaws.
Street Outlaws, Season 17, Episode 1. I'm Chris Lorenz.
This is Brian.
Zuma Beth.
Hey, this is James.
Harrison Hoffman.
Noah Singer.
Maximum Speed.
Well, if this is your first time listening to us, we watch a different reality show each week, go into minute detail on everything that happens, and give a good rating, bad rating, or terrible rating. Noah, what show did we watch this week?
We watched Street Outlaws on Discovery Channel. Street racing in the U.S. is the subject of this docu-reality series, which purportedly provides an inside look into the action both on the road and behind the scenes. In Oklahoma City, for example, racers boast having the fastest street cars in the country, and the racing, they say, comes first, before family, before friends, and before work. From a 1969 Chevy Nova to a race-ready farm truck, the vehicles and their drivers come in all shapes and sizes and have one thing in common: the need for speed. That's Street Outlaws on the Discovery Channel.
Why does it say that it purportedly shows you the street racing culture?
Because they're like doing legal races on the street and not like illegal street racing.
Okay, I guess that's it. But it's
Yeah.
weird that they would describe it that way themselves.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's all liability.
Yeah,
They're
it's
all-
that legal risk.
There were like 2 warnings at the beginning. It's like,
Oh, definitely.
hey, we're dumbasses, don't do this. And then you had the discovery warning before that, hey, don't do street racing.
Really don't do this.
So we'll get this out of the way. So I'm an idiot, or Comcast is an asshole. And I ended up watching Season 1, Episode 1, instead of Season 17, Episode 1. So I could give a lot of insight to compare the two because they're 13 years apart. And Max.
Sorry, I have questions. I was going to let you finish.
Okay. I mean, just as we go through, that's where I'm going to get my insight from. And in this episode, from what I didn't watch all of it, so somebody will have to fill me in some blanks here. But so the show's premise is that this guy, what's his name? Big Chief?
Big Chief.
He has a list of the top 10 racers in Oklahoma. And the show is all of these people racing each other to try to be and stay number one. And then this season, they reset the list. So no one has any numbers. So the last half of the episode is them racing 10 through 6 to see where they are in the like one-on-one, see who's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And presumably next week will be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the first half of this episode, I didn't really watch. So if somebody wants to fill in for what happened there.
Yeah, so they briefly covered, like, hey, they're doing a list shakeup, the no number thing. Then we get into, like, a little bit of, like, drama between Murder Nova and Sean, a.k.a. Crow. These two are in, like, a little business together, and we'll go into deeper detail about their tiff. We also learned a little bit about AZN and Farm Truck, and their conundrum of Farm Truck getting too big of a rep, and should they put it out to pasture. Was there anything else that came up in the beginning half of the episode?
Just
This
a lot
was-
of drama between Big Chief and Murder Nova.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Thank you for filling us in. So let's start this thing off in the minutia section with this like whole shakeup of the numbers. So presumably no one except for me has seen any other episode of this. So was this confusing to you guys?
It was confusing for a little bit when they were just talking about the list before they explained what the list was. It was kind of unclear what was happening there. But then sort of once they explained what the list is, then it made sense. And then we got Big Chief coming in to basically say how disappointed he is with all the people who aren't really going for number one on the list, and that's why we're going to shake it all up and everyone's got to go for number one again, or something like that.
It definitely feels like a show that builds on itself every season, kind of like Below Deck, where like it really helps if you have a lot of history of these guys and what happened last season and how the list is the way it is now.
Yeah, I mean, so as I said, I watched episode 1. So you start episode 1, you get even less introduction to this list and the like context behind them. It's just people, they're on the list and they like race. Like 2 people race, I guess, at the end of the episode. But even here, I thought they gave a better introduction to like what the show is actually about than season 1. But then again, this episode is really focused, unlike episode 1. There's a lot of really weird stuff going on that I won't get into because no one else watched it. But there's a lot more racing in this episode.
Chris, was there anything when you were watching it might have tipped you off to the fact it was 2007?
So the first clue that I found out that it was 2007 was the fact that I Googled the show and I was like going down this list. They were like 2 people died on the show, or people that have been on the show have died. And like one of the people that have died was on the episode I was watching. And I was like, weird. This dude dead? That's crazy. And then I'm
Do
like,
you think it was like a Tupac hologram type of thing happening?
I thought he might have died after they filmed this. I don't know. I have to assume that that's what happened. And then I'm like, when did he die? He was like 2013. He died in 2013. And then I was like, dude, that's so what is going on? Then I go sit at my computer. I'm like, oh, I watched the wrong episode.
Chris, there's another explanation here, which is much like the Masked Dancer, they just sort of photoshopped him in. It's COVID times.
It's certainly possible. Nothing else really screamed to me, but afterwards it's kind of clear. It's kind of like a season 1 of a show because they were like, they were doing some like they tried to make it seem like it was illegal racing. Like they were like, we're gonna go to this street, middle of nowhere, where the cops aren't gonna come, and we're gonna show the cops are gonna come. We're gonna run. We're gonna pretend to be the cops. They did like in this episode. You probably didn't remember the clip, but there's a clip of like them coming out of like there's like people getting pulled over by the cops, and there's like some prank kind of thing. That was in the episode I watched.
Wait, really?
So like,
I'm so glad you explained that. I was so confused of like, when did the show have all these pranks and things? I didn't get any of that in this episode.
Yeah, so that prank was in season 1, episode 1. They like bought a cop car and they just like set this guy up and pretended to be cops for like 5 seconds. Chuck, was that his name? Yeah, Chuck.
Was that also like a staged robbery?
They didn't stage a robbery. They staged pretending to be cops.
Okay, because
the robbery one, that was not in episode 1.
Okay.
So there's 3 people from the first episode that I remember in this episode. We have Big Chief, obviously he's in it. We got Chuck, and we got Murder Nova. So Murder Nova was number 1 in the episode I watched, and Big Chief was on probation and driving without a license.
In episode 1?
Yeah.
On a TV show?
Yeah.
On a TV show called Street Outlaws. So you like 4 cases like that, right? Like, okay, sir, that's
probably another indicator that this is like this wasn't 14 years into the show, but I digress. I'm sorry.
Did Big Chief in season 1, episode 1 wear his hat right down to his eyebrows?
No.
Okay. Well, that's a new thing in current day Big Chief.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that guy can fully see. That hat is like over part of his eyes.
All you need to see is the finish line, Harrison.
Oh, you guys mentioned what's the fire truck? What are their Asian?
Farm truck.
Asian and farm truck. They are also in season 1 episode.
Oh wow!
Thank goodness.
But they weren't in the second half of this episode that I watched. So they were number 10 in season 1, episode 1. So they were on the list.
And they were racing the farm truck?
Yeah.
Nice.
The farm truck got a reputation. I would be excited to see some of those races.
Me too.
I love the idea that these guys are just traveling around hustling people in this farm truck. It's like they have this old beat up truck and then they just show up and bet people they can beat them in races and just take their money. It's incredible. They're like racing like Lamborghinis and stuff. Like they're showing clips of it and they're just taking people's money. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure like it looked pretty powerful. Just I don't think you get that thing as good as you can get like a Camaro. Like you're not Fast and Furiousing that car. Like that's just as well as like
I mean,
a
we
better
didn't see the
suited
NOS.
aerodynamic car.
The NOS is probably there. We just didn't see it.
So in episode 1, they said they have double NOS.
Double NOS.
Man, the whole NOS craze really dates the show, I feel. Like, consider Fast and Furious. It's all over the place in the beginning, and now they just throw it in as a haha.
There was absolutely some dude in this show with a big old tank of NOS in his passenger seat. Like, I'm not sure if it's legal to use the NOS in
Oh, it
this
is.
place or not, but he had it.
In a street race, anything's legal.
I
So-
guess that's true.
These are all
Everything's illegal.
so this race that we see is a permitted race via somewhere in Oklahoma, I imagine. So whether this is like legal, you can go to a stadium and use your NOS, I don't know. But you come to this Street Outlaws race, it's legal.
I kind of meant like, is it okay in the rules of their kind of street racing league that they got here?
Yeah. One thing in the episode I watched, they were like, Oklahoma has the best, fastest cars in the world or like the country. And I'm just like, I highly doubt that. Why would Oklahoma, of all places, have the fastest cars in the country?
A lot of open roads.
Nothing else to do.
Flatland and
What do you mean? There's so many places like that. There's South Dakota. There's like the whole middle of the country. You say the same thing.
Warmer weather.
Whoa, Chris, no
Yeah.
reason to be mean to the people in these states.
I'm not being mean. I'm just saying you could
I
have
know.
faster cars than them. That's all I'm saying.
That's like asking, like, why is the barbecue good in Oklahoma? Like, I'm just like, you can't explain everything. There's just some places.
I'm just doubtful of their boasts. That's all. I'm not saying that they don't have like. I'm just doubtful. They could have it. I don't
They
know.
have confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to start a reality show about street racing, you got to boast that you have the best street racers, right?
You see, now you're getting it.
I know, I'm getting it, but that means I can't complain about them boasting about it when there's no credentials. Like they come up and be like, "Here's the top results of the top dragsters in the world, and here's where we are." Like, okay, then you've got some creds. You can't just show up and be like, "Yo, I make the #1 donut in the world, and I make it for myself in my kitchen." Like, come watch me. Like there's no creds.
Well, I'm curious about, so like this episode that we watched was about the list like of this one crew. I'm curious about like how this crew races with other crews, or like if there is sort of a leaderboard across the country or like in Oklahoma, like how that kind of works.
There's no other thing. Like these 10 people on this crew list, that's the show.
But
They're
like in this show, he talks about how it's so important that the list races are competitive and that people are really trying because they have to push each other so that they, as a collective, can be better than other street race teams.
Yeah,
and to
it's-
have a compelling show because
I
you're
mean-
on a reality show.
Also, yeah.
They
Well, it
want
seems
this
like in the
list to be
past
the
they,
list. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, this is like the premier list. And so, like, to keep it that way, just like in most sports or other competitions of any kind of sort, to gain that respect, you got to have the best athletes or competitors in that category dueling it out. And so, in theory, that is the top of the top, right? So, like, their top 10 here is a true top 10 in theory. It's obviously up for debate, but, like, that's the idea.
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, if at the end of the season, then they go to some drag race where they have similar street rules and they continually win, okay, I'll give it to them.
That's the thing. Somebody's got to challenge the DK. You never know who can take them down.
Yeah, maybe they're just training right now for some boss battle with another crew.
This is some sort of RPG. That said,
Do you
This-
guys know what the track racing is? Like what the difference is? Because they were talking about how they used to do a lot of track racing and maybe the last couple seasons, and now they're back to street racing. Does anyone know about that?
No.
I would assume track racing is where you like sort of buy. There are dedicated asphalt areas called tracks that look like a real racetrack, and they have turns and stuff, and you can just say like, "Hey, I'll pay you $200 and I can drive on your private road today." So that's my best guess.
Well, it's
as
true.
opposed to
Show.
getting like a permit on like a city street to do a race
Right.
versus doing it illegally and having the cops call on you for doing a race on a public road illegally.
Yeah, so like the track race, they show this in the show. It's like the NHRA or whatever. Like there are official drag races, and there's different categories of cars from all different levels, and that's where professionals go and they can do that. And I believe like many of these are also open to amateurs as well. I don't know the case for this show and how that got in. They might also have been in the professional category. It wouldn't seem out of the question, but yeah, I mean like there's official lights, there's scoring, timekeeping, all sort of a normal thing of a official or kind of sort of sport there, as opposed to like a street race where like by the idea of it, right, you're just rolling up to a street and challenging somebody to do a street race.
Probably like
I do think street racing is also an official category too, where like the classification or the restrictions on the cars, things like the tires, certain builds and body styles, certain restrictions such as that might also come into play.
yeah, it seemed like maybe the quality of the actual pavement, like the consistency of it, might be better at a track. It's like they were talking this whole episode about like, oh, like the right lane's kind of bumpy. It's not as good as the left lane, whatever. I bet if you're like at one of these pro tracks, like it's a real nice, consistent surface.
Fun fact: the article I read said that anyone that appears, or the NHRA, anyone that appears on the show is banned from being in the NHRA. So I don't know if that like happened and then they made up and then they're back into the like. But at some point, I could definitely see, because episode 1 made it seem like they were competing in illegal street races, which is something you don't really want as like the National Racing Association. You don't want to promote that because you want obviously that's not good. So I could see them trying to not promote that kind of thing anymore.
The other thing that I wasn't sure about is I wasn't sure if the change was prompted by COVID, because it seemed like the tracks, obviously they're big events, they have big crowds, all this kind of stuff. I was wondering if this shift back to street racing was their way to do a COVID season with less people. There were no masks anywhere, so there's no other evidence of COVID or anything, but I was wondering if that could have been part of it.
I don't know. I don't know anything about the production schedule of the show, so
There you go.
I have to assume it's 2021 at this point. So you think they couldn't have filmed this in 2019 to premiere in 2021?
But I'm
right?
thinking.
So yeah, that would make sense. All right, Harrison, explain to me what the Asian and other guys' beef was.
Farm
This
truck.
episode.
Their
Fine.
beef?
I don't know what their drama
so-
was.
So, Asian and Farm Truck are hey, Farm Truck is getting a really good rep on the road. Used to be able to just go roll up to a Lamborghini and say, "Want to race?" And the other driver would be like, "Yeah, I can smoke this truck." But now, they're not able to pull any of that stuff. So they're kind of thinking about putting Farm Truck to pasture. But of course, in typical fashion, they're just no, we got to have one last ride. Except in this case, it's 3 or 4 last rides. They're just yeah, we're going to set up several final races. And that's just kind of the... Sorry, Annabeth, what was that?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, was Farm Truck even in these final races on this episode?
No.
I don't think it was.
They're completely separate. They have their own separate shop, or they have their own separate shop.
Okay, so the farm truck's not on the list.
Not anymore. Chris
Farm
mentioned
Truck
that...
is on the list. What are you talking about? They just didn't get to that part of the race yet. They only did 4 races.
Oh, I thought that they did the first 5 races for the first round of the list reshuffle.
Because the first 5 races were 10 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought once you've won, we have to get into it. Let's get backtrack to that. But Farm Truck was number 10 in season 1, so I think they're a personality on the show. Whether their car is good enough to be on the list anymore, it might not be. So they're coming up with other shit for them to do because they're on this reality show now.
Yeah, like at some point they had a whole conversation of like, should they retire the farm truck? And it essentially came down to the decision being, if we lose the next race, then we'll like consider it, which is basically a no action. So like they didn't decide anything, but there was that whole conversation which led me to believe that they were going to be racing. Was that not the case, or like?
I think they're going to be racing, but not on the list.
Oh, okay. So it's like a side race, little side action.
Yeah, for the list we saw all the drivers race that are going to be on the list.
Before we get there, so, Brian, can you explain to me the beef between Big Chief and Murder Nova, right?
I can't because unfortunately, like I don't have my notes on that.
What happened to them? Did your dog eat them?
I wish. I know that like there was a breakup, and then now like Murder Nova has to do like all the tuning himself, but I don't exactly know what the beef was.
James, can you explain it to me?
Yeah, like I wouldn't put it so much as like a major beef, but I think it was Big Chief approaching Murder Nova. Basically, in short, Murder Nova's not been, he's been losing a few races. He's not been around the garage as much. He's kind of going through that stage of life where he wants to spend a little more time with his family, kind of work on his own car a little bit, and not like basically live in the shop at, their joint thing. It was like, hey, I think the best thing to do for me is like kind of step aside, do my own thing, do my own garage, like closer to my house, my family, whatever. And so they just decide to split up, and so now they're racing head to head, so they're not partnering anymore.
Okay.
And they're both like, all right, cool, we're still buds. We'll see you out there. We're gonna race.
Like it's clearly a big deal because Big Chief and Murder Nova are like best friends from way back, and they've been rolling together forever, pulling pranks together forever. They started their own big garage business together, and just kind of slowly, like Murder Nova started to like not be in the garage as much, maybe not be able to be kind of distracted, maybe be kind of bummed out by it, and then they just kind of decided to go their separate ways.
Okay, so in episode 1, Big Chief didn't race. He said he like retired. I assume that's because he was on probation and probably shouldn't have been racing. So I guess he did race, and I didn't even notice that he raced. So yeah, in the first episode, Big Chief and Murder Nova were like inseparable. Like they were in every scene together. They were pulling the pranks together. Like they were the one working on the car together. So like, I guess that is kind of more of a big deal that they're kind of going their separate ways.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about this show is that every conversation, the way it was set up, felt so scripted or like pre-planned. It was like, we're going to have this in this shop and we're going to talk about this thing. So like, I feel like this conversation specifically, it felt so set up that I don't know like how much more was going on or like between them and how much like sort of angst there was leading up to this. And I don't know if this conversation felt like a good representation of the breakup. Because then at the end of the episode, like all the guys are racing and Murder Nova is like really sad that he can't get Big Chief's help like tune in his car anymore. Like it seems like a bigger deal than that one conversation kind of led on. At least that was my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, season 17, a lot of scripted drama, unfortunately.
I believe you're actually suggesting that this could not be actual reality, Annabeth.
I know, it's a tragedy.
Tragedy. You think that was real, Annabeth? Come on.
I thought it was interesting because I think that a lot of the race part felt pretty real because that was more kind of documentary about what was happening at the race. But all the lead up to it and all the drama in the shop felt like super, super staged.
I'm glad I skipped that part then. Season 1 didn't feel too bad. It felt like a lot of there wasn't any. Everyone felt legitimately real, and I didn't get that sense. So, by 17 years later, I'm sure it's a little different. So, all right, should we get to this race? Is there any other drama we need to go through?
No.
All right, let's go to this race. First thing I want to say about this race is what kind of format is this fucking race?
A terrible
Like-
one.
Why do you not get it?
Style.
It's a drag race.
It's a
No.
shootout style, Chris. What don't you get?
I just like, how do you determine who's number 10 by only racing 2 people that you pulled out of a hat?
It's because
Uh,
the order you go, right? So you draw numbers randomly to see the order. Then you get your head-to-head duel. First one to lose, you're the worst ranked, number 10. Next race up. We're
Like,
gonna
I know, I understand that's the
Work it-
format that they went through.
Okay.
you work it through and you keep bracketing in, and so ultimately you decide who the best one is.
Can I propose an alternative?
No, because that's what they did.
No, that's what I'm saying is like, what you're saying is what they did. I'm complaining about that's a terrible way to determine who's number 10. Max, will you give me another way that they should have done this?
What if they had a stopwatch and they click it when the race starts and they click it when one of them passes the finish line?
That's what we're talking about.
Because like then you have a very, a normal
Nope.
ordering.
It's a street race, Max. Winner and a loser. I don't see you guys aren't getting this.
Okay,
I think
so
There's 2 guys in a car driving it down the road. There's a winner and a loser. A loser goes home.
You ever seen that documentary, The Fast and the Furious?
Yeah. There's no scoreboard. You think the Fast and Furious keeping a scoreboard? Come on.
I'm just saying it would be more fair.
There's a piece of paper with who won, who lost. That's all. That's all the tracking they're keeping.
James, we're all Americans here. We all want free and fair scoreboards.
The shootout style seems like it's very effective at determining who's number 1. Doesn't seem like it's super effective at saying who number 10 is. I would say.
agreed.
Like,
There's no like bottom bracket, and
Yeah.
that's where it's like, I don't know what's going to happen later in the season where like, oh, I want to move up. Like, how do I challenge like the person right above me? So now number
I
10.
can explain this if you
Oh yeah, please.
if you would like. So the way the rules worked in season 1, which I assume are still the rules today, is that the person below you can challenge you at any time, but you cannot challenge them. So if like you're number 10 and you want to move up to number 9, you can go number 10 can challenge number 9, and then number 9 can challenge number 8.
Yeah, it makes sense. I can't like bully the people below me and just like keep demoralizing them in the races. Got it.
It seemed though that after a race, you can challenge them immediately. So like if number 6 and 7 race, and then 7 and like say 6 wins, this is what happened. 6 won, but then whoever's number 8 challenged number 7, and then number 7 lost again, then they're number 8. And then number 9 challenged them. Like it just kept going. So there's some rules going on in here.
Wonder if they'll also do that for this. Like, oh, now that like all the racing's done, like I'm gonna challenge you.
Now, I'm sure it's gonna happen.
What's the duration of a season of this list? Is it like a nice weather driving season, or is it like a season of the show? Like how do they know when it's over?
I don't think there is an over. I think that's why this season like started out with this. We're doing this differently because previously the list just keeps going on. There's no like end. You're just number 1 until somebody challenges you and you lose.
Okay.
It makes more sense to have something like this. But I think that so say they did this. We're like 5, like where one person raced, they're number 10 if they lost. So you've got 5 cars left, right? How do you find who's number 1 now? Do you have an odd number of cars? Does somebody auto get into the next round? Like, is there another round where you do 4, 3, and then there's like I'm so lost.
I guess you
I have
gotta
no idea how you finish this.
you gotta
I don't
keep
know.
watching. The only
Yeah.
way. That's how they get you.
You just
I'm
keep
so
racing.
mystified at this tournament rules. It's the worst tournament ever.
Just keep on racing, you know?
There's a winner and a loser. I don't
Yeah.
understand
Okay.
what
There
you're
should have been group rounds. They should have had like, 4 racers in a group. You do round robin, and the winner like goes on. Like there's no like this whole one. This was such a stupid tournament.
We do
Okay.
find out that Big Chief calls himself the race master, I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't
He's
think
the
that's a
one
title. I think
that
the role.
does the light.
Yeah. No, he doesn't do the light. He's the race organizer. He's like the commissioner.
Yeah.
Because there's
That's why
that
he's the
drama
race master.
about the one guy. There's the drama with the guy who didn't bring a car.
Yeah, but I was just saying, like, he's not just going around calling himself the race master for fun. He's like the actual organizer, commissioner dude. So yeah, he's like the rules enforcement, I think, of the situation. And then you're right. There's totally I don't know who that guy is, but he's like something about his car, and he's going to him. I don't know if you want to explain it, but there's something going on there.
Wasn't it Jeff?
Could it? They all blended together for me.
Yeah,
all
Jeff.
different facial hair.
Jeff Lutz did not bring a car because it wasn't ready.
But then he raced. It was unclear. Like
No, he didn't.
they said that, and then he
He didn't
raced, and I
race.
was like, "Where'd he get that car?"
He didn't race.
He didn't race.
There was a conversation where he talks to Big Chief, and he's like, "Hey, like I don't have my car; it's not ready. Like, what do you recommend I do?" And that's when Big Chief is like, "Hey, if I were you, I wouldn't be telling me, the race master, this information that might disqualify you from the race." And then Jeff is like, "Okay, as a friend, what should I do?" And Big Chief advises him to show up with the trailer, enroll in the race, like pay the money so that he can be on the list, and then just forfeit and time out on this particular race.
Yeah, so we can go over the results here. I'll just read them out for you, which will include Jeff. We got Shane versus Big Chief. Shane loses. He's number 10. We got Jeff versus Monza. Monza wins because Jeff doesn't have a car. Murder Nova versus Ryan Martin. Murder Nova loses. He's number 8. And Ryan Martin wins. We got Dave versus Doc. Dave wins. Doc loses. He's number 7. And Chuck versus Dominator. Chuck loses. Chuck was by far the worst race. What's wrong with his car? It was bad. He deserved to be number 10. Get that stopwatch
The guy that
out.
didn't have a car? Dude, the guy that didn't have a car. Come on. Gotta be number.
All right. He shouldn't be on the list. Like, if this is the top 10 racers in the world or in the U.S., whatever you're going to call yourselves,
Oklahoma
you can't
City.
have number 10 doesn't have a fucking car.
He's on a show though.
Swap him out for Farm Truck. Get Farm Truck in there.
Yeah, get Farm Truck. It's an actual car.
Yeah. Well,
It's a great
truck,
car.
but
I mean, I think it's a truck, but it's a hell of a vehicle. Either
It'll
way.
beat that non-existent truck to the line. I'll tell you that much.
What was this guy doing?
Well, he apparently he had been on the track circuit last season or whatever that means, and his car has taken some abuse. It obviously needs some mechanical repairs. It's not ready to go, but somehow I think this is all fake drama, clearly, because somehow it's going to be ready next week. Don't worry. So there you have it. I mean, that is common. Like, if you're racing these cars, they're going to need a shitload of work. So it doesn't surprise me that he has trouble with this car, but I feel like it's got to be manufactured drama, right? Like.
I want to know how much off time he had before this season to get his car ready for the television show that he is going to be on, where he has to race a car. I don't understand how he's not ready.
Also, how do you have so many people on this reality show? There's so many people.
It takes a lot of people to build these damn cars and fix them and shit. It's like a whole pit crew.
Yeah, but we don't need a full 10. Make it a list of 5. I don't know.
Oh, you just meant in the actual cars?
Yeah, no, just the amount of people.
But the list is 10.
I know.
Gotta have a full list.
You have a problem with the 10 people or the 10 people's crews? I'm confused by the quote amount of people on the show that you have a problem with.
I have a problem with the number of people, just the number of people that they give time to in the show. They give time to Asian and Fire Truck or whatever, and they're not even on the list. And then you get the 10 people on the list, and then they're family. There's just a lot of people.
Why the hell is Farm Truck in the show if they're not racing? I was so confused when you said we didn't see him race. I thought I zoned out. Like, what happened? Why was there a 10-minute spot on Farm Truck?
I don't know what to tell you.
Inexplicable. I think we could have spent a little more time explaining the one female person on this show. Who is she? What is her role? Is she a mechanic? She's helping with the race. She
Are you
doesn't
talking
get a
about?
name.
Are we talking about Louise?
Is that her name?
No,
Who
that's
is
the name
she?
of Far Truck's truck, Louise.
Okay.
Dog.
Annabeth is talking about the only female person on the show, which I don't think says more than one word at all, because she doesn't get any airtime. She's clearly just there as a prop piece, right?
She like talks to Big Chief. Are they dating? Is like what is happening?
He seems
That was
like
weird.
part of Big Chief's crew, or like somehow inside. Like it seems like she might be his girlfriend or wife. I don't know. It's unclear. None of this is explained.
There's a weird scene where she gives the other guy the light for the race, and that's about all we get.
We got to talk about that dude's role though. That seems so dangerous, and I don't understand why. Okay, so we gotta. Can we go into this part, Chris?
Well, I don't know. I didn't watch this, so
So
please
there's a
tell me.
little bit of race minutia here where, normally you drop a flag or flash a light or somehow to signal the race is going to go, right?
Yeah.
So two cars are lined up, they've warmed their tires, they're at the line, they're edging the go. And so this person has this role to flash the light to basically signal the go. And so there's this scene with this female character we're talking about, which we don't know the name or any more details around. She's like, I got the perfect flashlight. She gets in this flashlight. And then every time they're about to start the race, dude is like backpedaling and like running backwards for some reason, flashes the light and keeps running backwards while the cars zoom by him. It seems incredibly dangerous. And I just don't understand why he's not standing still. Like, why is he moving backwards?
Yeah, it's very weird that he's running backwards, flashes the light. It's not like he runs backwards, stops, flashes the light. No, he doesn't stop. He just is running. And then Chuck almost hits him.
Yeah, there are like multiple races where like the car kind of skids right away and like veers left or right, and then the driver's like, "Oh, I had to like get it back on the road, like whatever." So scary.
Okay, here's my shot at it. I think that guy has to basically do two things. Like first, he has to make sure that both of the cars are right on the line. So like the first thing he does is like, all right, left car come up, right car come up. To do that and to make sure they're on the line, he has to be standing basically on the start line. And he can't be standing on the start line when he signals that thing. And so I think that it's basically like you can't have those cars just sitting there for too long because they're like getting ready. So he just like, oh, I'm just gonna back up real quick and just flash it. Like that can be my only assumption of why that happens like that.
But you could have somebody else do the flashing of the lights, can't you?
You could do that.
Yeah, obviously.
You could do that.
Or like a
Put it on a
device.
stand.
Put a stand there with a light on it, click a button, like, and it could go 3, 2, 1. It doesn't have to be like on.
It was interestingly for every race that was not Big Chief's race, Big Chief did the signaling, which I thought was interesting because I'm surprised you can be a competitor on the list and also be the signaler.
And the race master.
And the
He's
race
running
master.
the race. He's like the judge.
Conflict of interest for sure.
I mean, he seems to hold that like he does a bit of everything. He's the big chief.
Yeah. Big
Look,
Chief.
when you're the owner of the list, the owner of the league, you're the owner of this fucking reality show. Like you're the SVP.
No
Like
doubt.
you do what you want. You want to light the thing, let people go. You're gonna do that. It's just like when you're the head coach, you want to get out there and put on that quarterback's helmet and get out there and quarterback. You're gonna do it. You're gonna call the plays. You want to throw it to yourself. You're gonna do that. Like you're gonna be everything.
Is Big Chief's car named Big Chief?
This is one of my big questions about this show, actually.
I have no idea. But in the first episode, he did call himself Big Chief. And he did not talk about his car.
They use car names and the people's names interchangeably in places. Like sometimes that guy's name is Murder Nova, but sometimes it's just his car that's named Murder Nova. I'm very confused.
It's both.
It's just both?
Well, his
Yeah.
card name is definitely Murder Nova, and I think he assumes that role or something, right, Brian? Like,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can think here is these people have taken on the personas of their cars.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Like, you don't need to put your real name on this quote-unquote reality show.
Harrison,
You,
there are so many people on the show. You want to remember their name and their fucking car's name?
I don't want
That's a good
to,
point.
but the show forces me to, and it keeps using them interchangeably.
No, that's it.
That's
You don't need to
simplifying it.
remember. They're the same thing.
All right.
Yeah, like Fun Truck.
I have another question for people who know about the street racing. How often do you switch your car Do you like? It sounds like these guys have had this car like forever, the car that they've had. But like, I assume at some point you want to get a new car.
I would assume a lot of these guys have multiple project cars.
Yeah.
So what I can tell you is that everyone that I can remember, like Chuck, he has the same car that he had in season 1, and the farm truck. I can never remember that name. Anyway, are the
farm truck.
same. But so they're constantly replacing parts and adding new parts and tweaking their parts, tweaking their tires and stuff. So like when you like, they probably have a whole new engine in that side of that car than they did 10 years ago. But they have the same body.
I guess there are like no rules about like once you're in the list, does it matter what car you drive for the races? Like, do you have to do the same one the whole season? And like, I don't
That's
know.
a good question.
Does that matter?
I mean, you just don't have the money to be buying another car, realistically. Like, maybe if you're on the show, like maybe you're Big Chief, you could buy a couple of these cars. I don't know, but like, remember Fast and Furious? How much those cars cost? Like, it's only cost more now than it did then. You think these schmucks in Oklahoma can afford more?
I
Like,
mean, if you're winning the pink slips,
I mean,
yeah. Then you get another car.
the whole season there's only $1,000 on the stakes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
The whole thing is $10,000.
I think that's just for the winner of this race.
It was the winner of the entire season gets 10,000. The winner of this first week's race got 5,000. So it was 500 person.
Oh, I missed that.
yeah.
Weird. Then what? Then I get your question, Annabeth. What's the season?
What is the season? There's definitely a point where it's over and they give that money to the top guy. Unknown.
Presumably the end of the season of TV. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
But I would
we'll have a
imagine
final
there'd
race.
be like a standard number of races in a season or something.
They could have one final race where it's like, hey, here's the rankings. Now here's a bracket from those rankings.
All right. We ready for questions? I think James has a question for us for this particular show. James, you want to hit us with this question?
Sure do. I'd really like to know what everyone's personal favorite car on the show was. Not who not what car won or whatever. Just what car spoke to you the most? What vibe were you picking up on the best?
I like the red Camaro that I think
Fireball.
Yeah, Murder Nova or Ryan Martin had it. I don't remember which one, but I like the red Camaro. There's no reason or rhyme. I just
Murder Nova,
that's the car.
That was Murder Nova.
was
Yeah.
the name of his car.
I thought that Murder Nova was like a black car. I thought that Fireball was the red one.
Yeah.
Right, that's why I said it's not Murder Nova.
Oh, okay.
Murder Nova is driving a 1969 Chevy Nova.
The GTO.
Camaro.
Oh, right. He had the black GTO. Yeah.
Not a GTO. Once again, it was a 1969 Chevy Nova, which is why it's called the Murder Nova,
Oh,
not the Murder GTO.
got it.
Which I'll just jump ahead, and that was my favorite car. So,
The GTO or the Nova?
oh my God, Noah! What do you mean? It was a 1969 black Chevy Nova,
Chevy
aka
Nova.
the Murder Nova.
The Murder Nova. Yeah. Well,
Not a
I'll just
GTO.
keep going. I like the farm truck. It's a farm truck, and they got a little grill on it that says farm truck. It just is like, it just seems kind of fun. And they definitely are the comic relief, the drivers, Asian and farm truck, who drives farm truck. So I'll go with farm truck. Farm truck.
Bomb truck.
Brian, what do you got for me? You let me know.
I like the Doc's car the most. So Doc's car was labeled the Street Beast, and it's a 1970 Chevy Monte Carlo.
Annabeth, do you have a favorite car?
Yeah, I was gonna say Doc's car too. It's really nice. It's a beautiful blue. It looks real sleek. But also, I mean, farm truck is like tops. But
And Harrison, what do you got for me?
I think I was in the Fireball camp too. Even though I do like the Murder Nova, I think the Fireball's looking pretty good.
Max, you got one?
Gotta be farm truck. I love, so these are called sleepers, cars that don't look like they go fast, but they do go fast. That is very entertaining to me.
You just want to see them go. You want a whole show where they're hustling people.
Absolutely, that is what I would watch.
All right, let's get to our standard questions now. I don't know if there's really anyone in this, so we might skip it. Who's the worst human being?
Nah.
Yeah, we'll just skip it.
I think it's the dude that didn't bring a car to fucking car race.
Fair.
Fair. We'll leave it at that. Then we got, is this the Apex downgrade for the host? Not really a host, so we'll skip that one. What's the most baffling cringeworthy moment? Brian, you have one?
I got one. Somebody's car is named Death Trap. Who the fuck names their car Death Trap?
The rules, actually.
I got one. So there was a scene where Big Chief asked Chuck, or was his name Chuck? Yeah, Chuck, if he wanted to challenge the 8th person, and he said no, but then changed his mind. And then Big Chief came out and was like just screaming at him so hard because Big Chuck was so pissed because he couldn't find him to challenge him. And it looked like this guy had some real anger problems. Oh, wait, wrong episode. Sorry about that.
Sounds awesome.
Harrison, Annabeth, do you have one?
The only one that I can think of is when that dude was gonna win by default because the other guy didn't show up with a car. Like he pulls up on the line because he's gonna test his car out or whatever, and then it just like immediately breaks. And he's like, "Oh shit! Now I gotta fix this car for my next race or whatever."
There you go.
Yeah.
So shall we go to drinking rules? What are some good drinking rules for this episode?
Drink every time you see a different type of facial hair.
Oh, you stole mine. Damn it.
Oh no!
I was going to be drink for every goatee you see.
I was gonna do drink every time you see a car-related tattoo.
Ooh, that's good.
What if you drink for every like sentence that felt like they were like reading a line and like acting out like a bit?
You would be real wasted within 5 minutes.
You know, that should be on our stock rules. We really need to have a stock rules episode where we come up with the stock rules for reality shows.
Yes.
You have to drink while you come up with the rules, or like how does that work?
I don't know. We just need to come up with like, you know, when we come up with the drinking rules after these episodes, we never get to test them out, right? I mean, we don't generally test them out. We could.
Maybe every week we should come up with the drinking rules for this show and try to apply them next week, no matter what the show is.
I like that. Like we pick one rule for the following week and we stick to it.
Like, man, there's so many car tattoos and goatees.
But also make mine a real winner because mine is drink while a race is happening. Like, you have to drink the entire time.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I was just gonna say we have to have that rule, right?
Oh yeah.
I have a
Max,
question for that rule.
do you have a rule? Sorry.
I don't have a rule, but I have a sort of follow-up question once we're done with the rules.
All right, James, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so question for Brian's rule, just to clarify. So you said drink while the race is happening. What about when they show like a clip of the same race again, like the replays, things like that? Just to clarify.
I don't think so.
It's from when they flash the light till they like stop the car. Till like they show them passing the line.
Okay.
You can't be prepared for like a clip and be like, oh, like
Yeah.
Got it.
I don't know where Noah's went, but I think he's gone.
He said BRB.
Okay. Let's go with production schedule. What
Max,
is
did
the
you have
production
something for this?
schedule here? What?
No. He keep going. Production schedule.
And I hope it's pre-COVID because there's
Oh
no
my god, dude.
COVID happening on this.
So on this note, I like decided to look at like the previous episodes, right? So like it was season 17. Season 16 ended in October of 2020.
So
There, like, this show has seriously been continuously running for forever. Like they don't really take a break. So it seems to me that last season, it looks like from the thumbnails that they were at like real races. So that was filmed pre-COVID. This has to be filmed during COVID. There's no way. So
Agreed.
Oklahoma might not have those COVID restrictions that would prevent you from filming, right? So
At the same time, like right now, like we don't really see them like interacting with like anybody else outside. So if it's just like a tight crew and you get them tested, it's fine.
Yeah, but like the races have at least 20, 30 people there.
Do they? Like I don't exactly remember a huge population other than like the crews. But I'm just assuming that like it's whoever's like amongst this show. Like once you start bringing in like an audience, that's a problem.
Do you think the Street Outlaws bubble is like, really being cautious?
yeah,
I hope so, but I'm not going to make any judgments.
Just some quick searching led me to an article from somewhere in Arizona saying that they were filming this season in October in Arizona. So I think that they're probably shooting it during COVID.
So then the second question is like, how long do they film from this? Like, do they film like a month and then they make like 10 episodes? Like, do they just film like every day a couple races, or like, you need time to fix these cars? It's not like if something's real broken, you gotta get parts. Like the first season, they were doing like a week between races. So like, obviously, maybe that you tighten the schedule up a bit, but it's a tough schedule.
That was going to be kind of my guess, which was like, it seems like a week between. It seems like a reasonable-ish amount of time to like fix your cars and like do your repairs, tune it a bit. But
COVID schedule, like that's just not going to work.
Right.
So I feel like this season's got to be short, and it's got to be just. That's why it would make way more sense to make this tournament like a bigger deal, and like a real tournament than just like this like weird one-off races. Anyway, that's just. I'd say a couple weeks. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Noah, you said that you have a tidbit. No, Annabeth has a tidbit.
Yeah, I have a tidbit from the internet corner, which is that we can all be street outlaws because there is a racing video game based on this series called Street Outlaws: The List.
Holy!
How do we get on the list?
Is it on Xbox Game
available on the
Pass?
Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox One.
Hell yeah!
2019.
I hope it's like Mario Kart.
Finally, I can play as Farm Truck.
You can be Farm Truck.
Be the truck.
Christmas is gonna be great this year.
I doubt. Is it on Game Pass? We gotta know.
I
Yeah.
don't think so.
We'll look it up after. Either way, we're getting this.
Oh, all right. We all looked at that. That's great audio. For everyone to stay at home.
This picture is just like four generic people like on this thing. Like I could barely tell who it is. Oh,
Not,
yeah,
it's
just
our,
the beards.
it's our guys.
Big Chief, Farm Truck, Murder, and I think that's. Man, it's hard to tell.
Is it my boy Asian?
I think it might be Asian. That's
We're seeing the
boy.
Discovery logo
It is,
on a
it
game
is.
box.
Do
right.
you think they have a Squatchin game? We got to find out.
Should
In
we
any
make-
case,
Max, should we make one? A Squatchin?
yes, we should if it doesn't already exist. B, I would like to propose a new simple question to potentially be in our rotation.
Yes.
How would you make the show better? What's like one little tweak you can make to the show that would make it more your thing?
That would make it more my thing.
I think it
And
needs to
more
be hosted
technic-
by Vin Diesel.
More like technical details on what's actually going on in the races. Like I need to know, like, okay, here Chuck turned right. Why did that happen? And like, what's he gonna do to fix it? Like
Sure,
it doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be enough. But like, after I watch 16 seasons of this, I want to like I hope I can walk into a racing store and be like, oh, okay, this is the kind of engine that guy has, and this is what would cause these kind of issues, stuff like that. But I think that would be intriguing.
That's a little dangerous because now it's like we're teaching you to street race. Woo!
Or just teaching you how to race in the like real racing place, not necessarily a street.
I do agree it'd be
You
interesting.
can legally race. There are places you can go and legally race.
Yeah, but you're not like doing a lot of those tunings yourself. Like you're gonna be given like some
Oh,
equipment
you-
and stuff.
No, I like there are places you can go like and show up at a track, like Max was talking about earlier, and bring your own car, bring whatever you want, like
Okay.
thing. Yeah, like it doesn't
Are
have to be like you and me could go race. Is like what I'm saying. Like you could just show up.
Okay. That's also something I wouldn't have expected. I would expect that like you would be solo doing this because like once you have 2 people on there, an accident happens, it's game over.
Oh, I mean, you don't have to have multiple people in the car. I'm just saying, like, they have places you can go and do like legal racing, and so like whatever level that you're looking for, those things exist. But to answer Max's question, I'm gonna go with I would like a little more garage time. They didn't really get into any of them like working on their cars or like talking about like things they were gonna do or maybe they were fixing or like shit. You know that one guy that doesn't have a car. Maybe they could have showed him like working on his car a little bit. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it felt like the garage time was dedicated solely for drama and not cars.
Yeah, it's weird for a quote car show.
For sure.
Anyone else want to answer? Brian?
I don't think I'd add much more than like remove the drama. Just it's so generic at this point and predictable. I don't need it in every show.
Annabeth or Harrison, you got a answer?
I mean, I'd like some more education about the decisions they're making with these cars. Like I could see some like History Channel when they do kind of diagrams or like give me some stats about the cars.
Yeah,
I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, the Morgan Freeman like explaining what's going on and what happened.
Yeah.
Let's get to. I mean, would this show be better as a Quibi?
It's like individual races, maybe?
Much better. Much better.
I don't know.
So,
I think it wouldn't be able to give me enough context to what's going on. So I'm gonna go with no.
They just get down to the details on the races. You know, like you give like the specs on the car, you give like a really quick like drama detail on the character. Be like, what's like the high, the low, the drama. Then they race, and that's how it gets resolved. Tune in next time to see the next race.
You're probably right. I'd probably watch. I'd have to be shorter than a Quibi. It'd have to be like 3-minute Quibbies.
It could be tight. Yeah, it could be a very tight quib.
Too bad. R.I.P. Quibi. Let's get to our last and favorite question. So we do a rating system here. We top, middle, bottom, third. Where we try to put them in reality shows into buckets. So we're comparing it to other reality shows. Brian, why don't you start us off?
I'm gonna do bottom in the middle. It was a very cookie cutter show, but it was interesting in that it was still street racing, and there was a lot of it this episode. I know that you said that episode 1 in season 1 did not have much racing, so I'm hoping that they just learn from that and have a bunch more races.
Annabeth, what do you got?
I think I'm kind of similar to Brian. I think I'd put it kind of bottom of the middle. Like it's a solid show. I like the racing a lot, but like there's too much drama. It's a little too long, but it's good.
Harrison?
Yeah, it's gonna be a middle third show for me as well. Like I'm curious to see if the show is better if you've kind of watched it over the seasons and you have more of a relationship with these characters and how they've been moving up and down the list and all this kind of stuff. I would like to see it be a little bit more technical and teach me a little bit more about these cars and kind of what they're doing. And yeah, I think it was all right.
Max, what do you got for me?
I like cars, and I was just bored to death by this show. I just thought it could have been. It was way too much drama, so I'm gonna have to say bottom third, but top of the bottom.
What do you got for me, Harrison?
I already gave you my rating, so
Noah, sorry.
What do you got for us, Harrison?
What do you have?
Keep going, Harrison. Just
Yeah, I'm gonna go similar to Max. I really want to put the show lower, but it's not bad. It's just boring as fuck. Like it really would be better as a Quibi. So I'll put it in the bottom. I'm hesitant to put it top of the bottom, but I'll put it there. I think it should be lower because it's just really hard to get through. Like the drama is not entertaining. Obviously, they know their shit about cars. It'd be cool to just really dial into that, but they don't. Yeah, Street Outlaws.
James, what do you got for me?
I'm gonna put this one just right in the middle. I think there was some really enjoyable moments, but also some lulls. And ultimately, I think just needs to swap out some of the drama or the seemingly fake drama for a little more garage time, and I'd be a little more happier. But all in all, I had a good time. It was right in the middle.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with middle third, mainly because I like season 1, episode 1, and I didn't get a chance to watch this full season 17, episode 1. I feel like it was not as good. It got, a little flanderized probably. It's fine. Like, there's nothing that particularly bad about it. There's not anything particularly good about it either. So
The thing is, this show also has like so many spin-offs, so many seasons.
I was just
It's
gonna
kinda
get into
ridiculous.
that now that I've given my ratings, is that we could do like 2 months of just Street Outlaws. Let me read out to you all the Street Outlaw spin-offs we've got. We've got Street Outlaws Fastest in America, Street Outlaws Memphis, Street Outlaws Mega Cash Days, Street Outlaws Full Throttle, Street Outlaws Race Night in America, Street Outlaws New Orleans, and then Street Outlaws.
I like Night in America.
Oddly
Outlaws
enough,
month.
Mega Cash Days is a 2021 show. It
Ooh.
just started.
Wait, what is it called? Mega Cash Days?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Pink
A
slips.
group
Very transparent. There's a mega cash day.
A group of drivers from all over the country compete in a race for $600,000.
Wait, so it's the Amazing Race?
No, I think it's an actual tournament, unlike what they did in this episode.
Okay, that's better.
Is this show related to the show Pinks? Has anyone
I don't know.
randomly seen that? I have no idea if it's in the same universe. It just feels like a very similar concept of. So, if nobody has come across the show Pinks randomly, as apparently I might have been the only one here.
Why why is it called Pinks?
Yeah, good question. So you're racing for pink slips. Your car is on the line. Every race, you could take the other guy's car home.
Have you
Oh
not
my
seen
god.
The Fast and Furious.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, fair question. I don't. I'm trying to think which one came first. Which was really the start of this question, which is, did that show spawn Pinks or did Pinks spawn this show? Like, I was curious about the car universe here.
Well, James, the movie Fast and Furious came out in 2001,
Mm-hmm.
and that predates almost every reality show, minus like Survivor.
Mm.
So
Fast and Furious was the first reality show movie you're telling me.
yes. You got to steal those VCR. Remember, they're stealing VCRs off those trucks.
Yards.
So, like, you date yourself a little. Like that sets you
Like
where
they were
you're at.
DVD players.
Yeah, they might have been DVD players.
Well, they were like combo DVD VCRs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those expensive stuff. None of those cheapo, just VCRs. Brian, you have a shout out this week?
I'm finally starting The Expanse.
Oh,
So, Star Trek Discovery just finished, and it was an okay season. I wouldn't say it was like great, especially compared to the other seasons. But I still got that space itch.
good. That'll itch it for sure. James, do you have a shout out this week?
Did you mean that'll scratch it for sure, or
Yeah.
Expanse is going to be
Maybe.
real good.
in there because I've never heard that'll.
That'll itch it. It'll itch. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I was gonna add that really tickled me, but yeah, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Below Deck. It's interesting to see. Obviously, I've talked about this one a bunch, but it's interesting to see how they're dealing with COVID in sort of real-ish time or slightly delayed time. So, looking forward to finding out what's happening this week.
Wait, can you explain So it's back?
Yeah. So it's the OG season. So with Captain Lee, and they are, I forget where they are in Antigua or somewhere around the Caribbean or something like that. Anyways, the show starts out before COVID. I think it's like episode 6 or 7 is about when they're starting to find out that like COVID is starting to spread around, and so it's an interesting like reliving of time. So they're revealing a little bit behind the curtain a bit to kind of show that production schedule. So I think in like on the show they're somewhere in like mid-February. So shit's about to get real.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to watch that.
Yeah,
does not sound fun. Does not.
It's been a hell of a good season though so far. Great chef drama, new chief stew, all sorts of action happening. There's been firings, new people brought in, new people kicked to the curb, all sorts of good stuff. People getting drunk, kissing and making out in the hot tubs, all good stuff.
Mm.
You have a shout out for us, Noah?
Yeah, I'll give a plug to Tehran on Apple Plus. It's about a Mossad agent in Iran, Tehran, Iran. Pretty good.
Max, you have a shout out?
I also watched all but the last episode of that show. I should finish it. It was fine. I think it started off better than the ends, but it was a fun 24 style romp. Oh, and I am caught up on The Expanse. Yeah, it's The Expanse.
It's very good, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Annabeth, you got a shout out this week?
Yeah, we just watched The Golden Compass. It's like a mini series on HBO, and it's based on a book that I loved as a teen, and it was great. It was really cool.
His Dark Materials.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
the movie?
Yeah.
Because the movie is called The Golden Compass.
Yeah.
And it was not
Yeah, not that. The series. The movie's very bad. The movie's terrible, but the series is great.
Did you watch just season 1 or both seasons?
We've only watched season 1, starting
Okay.
season 2 immediately.
Right after this. Like, they took a break to do this podcast. I watched a movie called The Sound of Metal. It's on Amazon Prime. Very good. Highly recommended. 5 stars. I'm also been playing The Witcher 3. Very good. If you have not played it and it seems like you might want to, I would. It's not too late. Just play it. It's very good. And that's it. That's it for us this week. You can find us on Twitter.com, Twitter at whobuthesong. You can find us on Facebook.com/whobuthesong. You can ask questions and suggestions at whobuthesong@gmail.com. Please rate and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Show your eyebrows, big chief.
Schrodinger's eyebrows.
Tweeted him.
You got a condition. You don't know. You're just being me.
He might.